Thank you very much. My name is Jos Fuik. I work for TNO at Dutch Research Institute. And I had a question actually basically to the whole panel. You can see in almost all your presentations that community actually plays an important role in your work, creating a community. Can you maybe tell us something about how important, or if building trust is important and how you do it? Because you started a couple of communities recently in Slovenia, so maybe that's an interesting example. Thank you.
It's of utmost importance, and I'll just illustrate it via an example. When we started doing it, it was like 10 years ago, and when we mentioned anything connected to technology transfer or innovation to the researchers or to the SMEs, they would slam the doors into our noses. But today, the situation is completely different. They would queue to get the support, because innovation in Slovenia in the past 10 years, not only that has received the wider acceptance, also the people and at one and the other hand side have built the trust to a certain degree. So it's of utmost importance. And I think the quality of services, the reliability of services, that you actually do what you promise in the beginning, that you set your targets and you deliver. It's of the utmost importance to build that trust.
In the startup ecosystem, community is something that is absolutely necessary. You don't have an ecosystem without it. One thing that I very much like about just the general concept of a startup community, it is that it is, by definition, it is grassroots. So it cannot be imposed top down, and that's why we see our role as not a creator of a community, but more so a curator, perhaps, or a facilitator of making connections between different communities, because one of the challenges I see in the, let's say, Ljubljana or the Slovenian startup community today is that we have a large number of communities that don't necessarily interact with one another. So there is then a role of kind of an integration, I guess, forum.
Okay. Well, maybe you have some questions. We have still here speakers from the previous panel, European Innovation Council, and we heard all these instruments and everything. You have experience with EC funding, so maybe you would have a question for our speakers who are still here. Yes, please.
I have one which has to do with the regional digital innovation hubs. So I think my feeling is that we need to find a balance of what I call centers of excellence. So things that you cannot easily duplicate in regions. So then I speak for my own institute, but also for CELAT and for Fraunhofer. And what I think is essential, that we make the connection between then regional centers, so that we don't try to copy everything in many places, like create an IMEC in Slovenia. That would be, I think, a few steps too far. But making the link with the partners who are strong in the regions, and then, well, that I think would be the way to go. But it's not really a question, but you can still reply if you want.
Yes. Do you have any comment from European Commission side? Well, I know in the future is one of the targets also not to duplicate the infrastructure. We know that, but maybe some more details. But short.
It's a bit a delicate question, to be honest, and perhaps Signe can comment more on that. But I think the cooperation is important, but you would need to differentiate yourself. So even if you are not, trying to replicate the full kind of breadth, and definitely IMEC is I think on the first place, also in the innovative, university and so on. You would still need, even at a regional level, to have something to differentiate, and then for the parts that are not core, to connect with other parts in Europe. So I think a balance is important here, not trying to replicate, but still not, just being a connector, because then what's your added value? But the added value and excellence should.
I have one interesting example. Let's say defense industry. Okay, we didn't talk about defense at all today, and not really the subject, but again, we have also a lot of innovations there, some innovations which started in civil world, so to say, they can be transferred there and vice versa. Let's say, when I was looking at some data, tanks. In European Union we have, I think, 15 different, so brands, reserve parts, everything, While in US and some others, it's maybe just 2 or 3 of them. So, actually it's your question or a remark, right? We should not duplicate, and we should really organize ourselves to be efficient.
Well, perhaps just a comment concerning the digital innovation hubs. Now, the Commission is actually facilitating also discussion among member states, and I participated at the one which was in Poland, took place in Poland last year, and clearly there, as well as when I described also the open innovation test beds, the idea is to have open access and to share. So really, you don't need to invest and duplicate in different places to do the same thing, but actually to cooperate and also provide then access to then the SMEs and the companies coming from other parts of Europe, so that it's not only at the service of your companies here, but also that there is first the awareness, what are the possibilities, so that they are linked, and then also that there is an access also from outside. Because if you use the public money, this is clearly something which you need to have. Now, on as you raised the issue of the defense research, well, clearly there, because it's the whole defense has been the member state competence. Now we are creating also the European level cooperation, but clearly when it comes to the procurements, also to agreement which types to go for, this would be much more efficient. But then clearly you need to cooperate, and then also then to come to the sort of say joint, also the joint actions. That's for sure.
Those things are moving in defense, of course, with the European Defence Agency and European Defence Fund. So going in that direction, that's for sure. And they will fund things which will not be duplicated and so on. Okay, but this is not the subject. But it makes the point, I think, also to our subjects. Okay, do we have something more here? Some more questions maybe? There's one. Short one, please. Anyone else? Okay.
Question that was triggered by...
Next one.
That was triggered by the second or the third slide of Ms. Spiller. And there is a question I'm asking from the perspective of small company. There is financing of Institute Josef Stefan, public funds, and EU projects, but I didn't see any income. So as a small company, I would like to challenge the TNO from Holland and Stefan. If it's a small company, you cannot afford some research small thing. It's there free lunch at the institute, so you can do some testing or small service for free, because the institute is financed from public money. Or how is this comparing Slovenia and Holland? So, if you maybe understand my question.
I was thinking of including that type of data into the presentation. For example, we run currently 2 projects, CAT for Clean Production and CAT Gate, within which not only that we contact SMEs and invite them to use our services and infrastructure, we also found the SMEs. I think that's a good example, a good answer to your question. Of course, not every problem can be addressed in that way. There's a limit to that amount of money. But currently there is, it's a possibility, and I think it's a good way forward to increase the collaboration. In this particular setup, I don't know, I'm interested in the answer from the colleague from TNO.
Okay, you want to add something? Yeah?
I'm afraid that for us it's mostly still goes that no lunch is for free. But what we do try to set up is public-private partnerships. Most of our research programs that we do are public-private partnerships, and there we create spaces where we try to invite SMEs in. And how in the end the exact payment is, I'm not absolutely sure. But generally speaking, no lunch is for free. So. We don't make money on the things that we ask that we do for SMEs because we're a non-profit. We cannot make any profits, but we can also not, because of that, offer stuff for free usually.
But if I may just add something, I mean, in Slovenia, regarding startups, we have the problems of financing. We have a lot of ideas, but we don't have all instruments in place. When I talk about national instruments, not those which are offered by European Commission and European Union, but we don't have venture capital basically. There may be just few funds, but they are offering such small amounts. So we are lacking this. Generally, European Union is lacking, but of course Slovenia is lacking even more so. And we have this presentation. I think it was in your slide. Okay, you didn't include numbers of Slovenia, Croatia, and some other countries in one slide. But we saw how is the difference between European Union and US and Asia, right? But Slovenia is even lagging behind European Union. So I think this is the paramount question here. And of course, good idea. If it's not financed, how it would fly? I mean, but okay, we would have to finish and the last.
I need to just jump in here. I would strongly disagree with what you just said, because Slovenia has consistently attracted quite a lot of investment. We do not have domestic venture capital.
That's what I said, yeah.
However, there is a lot of money floating around and a lot of foreign investors coming in.
Sure.
However, what we're lacking is not capital. We have a lot of ideas. What we're lacking is, I think, execution.
Okay, yeah, sure. But I know from many ideas which don't get financing, and they could get one.
Well,
but yeah, I mean, I agree. There are foreign funds.
In the startup world, there is this mantra that an idea is nothing until it comes into life, right? So by execution, I mean being able to enter the market, being able to build the product, being able to attract customers. While it's still an idea, even if it's patented, if you don't sell it, it's worthless.
Okay, but that's a good message, so we can send companies to you, right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
please do that.
Okay, we have another question here, and then we have to finish and break for lunch.
Just one comment on this debate. We are also weak in pitching the project, because a good idea is fine, but unless it is being sold, it's not there.
Yeah,
Money is around.
I agree. That's part of the execution.
Yes, but I can't resist to add one more sentence. Europe cannot become more innovative unless there is more Europe. If we don't have a single market. In America, when you only have a startup, next morning there is a market of 300 million. That's one situation. In Europe, this is not the situation. So we are facing a totally different challenge.
Yeah, good point too, yes.